get to your cutting mat, again, there's going to be those of you who are right-handed and those of you who are left-handed. So let me talk first to the righties and then we'll talk to the lefties. You're going to take the unit that you've just pieced. Know that it's bigger all the way around. What we're going to do is take the unit, if I'm right-handed, I'm going to kind of point that diamond as if it were pointing to it toward about 2 o'clock. This is where my rapid fire ruler comes into play. I'm going to take this ruler and I'm going to align the lines for the block that I'm going to make. I want to make a 6-inch Lemoyne Star. So when I position this on here, I'm going to go to the lines that are associated with the 6 on this 45-degree angle point, and I'm going to line those lines up with the seam lines that I've sewn. What you'll notice is that the background piece is too big. That's fine. I can then take and trim that away, and I'm going to have a piece that's going to be perfectly sized and ready for me to build into my block. I do that for both the B units and for the A units. I still point that diamond as if it were going toward about 2 o'clock. Position the lines, and the even sizes on the Lemoyne Star are actually solid lines. The sizes for your odd size blocks are actually dashed. So this is the solid line that's associated with the 6, and then I'm going to trim and trim. And what I'm going to have are 2 pieces that are precisely sized. And now I'm going to take these 2 pieces back to my sewing machine and get ready to stitch them. Again, let me talk just to those who are lefties just a little bit. Instead of taking your units and pointing them toward 2 o'clock, lefties, please point your units as if they were pointing toward 10 o'clock. Take your Lemoyne Star ruler, line up this same lines, the same 6-inch lines. You can then take your ruler and trim up and trim across. Just a little word of warning. This is kind of an odd, it's a very steep angle to trim. There are a couple things that I'd like you to do when you do this. First of all, make sure you have a good sharp blade on. Secondly, try to buy a product and use a product called Invisigrip. Invisigrip is a clear, static cling piece of plastic that you can add to the wrong side of your ruler. And it really does a great job of keeping your ruler from skidding and from sliding when you're doing that final trim down. It looks like this. It comes in a roll. You can get it at your local quilt shop or you can get it from us at our web store. It's a valuable product to have on the back of your rulers to keep your ruler from slipping when you go to do that trim. So lefties, you'll point it at the 10 o'clock. Righties, you point it at the 2 o'clock. Make that trim and make each one of your pieces be exactly the right size for the next step of the operation. Once you have all of your pieces trimmed nice and even, this is where the fun begins. It's almost like magic. You're going to go to your sewing machine, you're going to take your units, flip them over so that they are right sides together, and if you've paid attention to the pressing, what you're going to see is the seams on the top are going in one direction, the seams underneath are going the other. So your pieces are going to nest. What is also going to happen is that your diamond shape is going to line up perfectly. You're going to start at the tip of the star, at the tip of the diamond, and stitch using a good 1/4 of an inch seam. And I want to recommend that you use your best 1/4 of an inch seams here. Stitch them together one behind the other until they're all put together into pairs. Once you have your pairs constructed, you have a choice here. And I have a definite preference, but I'm going to tell you the 2 choices. My preference is when I press the pairs, I'm actually going to turn them over and press that seam that I've just sewn open. But the other choice is, for those of you who don't prefer to press your seams open, if you turn it over, you can press that seam in the same direction as every other seam that's in the unit. If you'll look here, every seam is going in this direction. So I'm going to take that center seam and press it in the same direction. It'll actually be going toward what would be the B piece, but every seam in the entire unit is going in this direction so that if you choose this way, all of your seams in your entire block will rotate around the center in the same direction. Personal choice, I think the open makes it a little bit flatter, but it's up to you. Once you've created your pairs and put your squares together, you're going to take your squares and begin to put them first together into halves and then the halves together into the whole. recommend that you take a nice crisp pair of scissors and trim away that point right there, right at the center of the diamonds to eliminate the bulk, and I would do that on all the pieces. Flip them over and again stitch from the center toward the edge of your block. What you want to focus on are the alignment of the seams. You really want to align the center seam, and you really want to align the seam that is right here. What you're not going to worry about is what happens at the edge. I'd like to pull out a piece here to be able to show you what may happen when you do this stitching. Once I've stitched this together at a pair, you'll notice that the seam matches here, the seam matches here, but out at this outside edge, the edges don't align. It's okay. Don't worry about those outside edges, because once your block is complete, one of the other benefits of this method is you now have extra fabric and you're going to be able to trim it all away. When I trim away the extra fabric that's around the outside, a couple things to remember. If I'm making a 6-inch block, I need to trim it to 6.5 inches. I go right for my Tucker trimmer tool. When I put that tool on top of here, what I see is I've got 2 strong diagonals marked with a 6.5 inch, and I'm going to be able to line those diagonals up with the seams. They're going to cross right in the middle of my block. I'm going to be able to trim on this side, rotate the block, trim on the other side of the block. They're going to be exactly the size that I need them to be to make my blocks be perfect in my quilts. And I'm hoping that all of you will consider making a Lemoyne Star with my Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star method. You can find the tool at your local quilt shop, or you can visit our website. And if you see me at one of the shows, or you're coming to visit a show that we happen to be vending at, please stop by and show us what you've been able to do with this tool.